and we are running Flutter Pune event at Globant for the first time. And thank you for the Globant team, Parijat sir, Harsha ma'am for helping us to create this event over here. So I'm thankful for this Globant team. So Flutter Pune is a community made by Flutter developers to bring all the like-minded people under one roof, where we can connect with each other, share our thoughts with each other, and present some talks. It is an open community. Everyone who wants to participate in this community, they can. So on the screen you can see we have the meetup link. You can just scan the QR code and you'll be able to join our meetup group. And from that meetup group, you will get access to everything. We post our events over there. We create the events over there. So we'll come to know which are the upcoming events, when the registration opens up, when it closes. We also run call for speakers, like we have a great lineup today. If you want to be one of the speakers next time, when the event starts, when we create an event, you can just keep that in mind, the event is there and you can contact us. Also, Flutter Pune is active on Twitter. So on Twitter there is @FlutterPune. You can follow us and you can join us on Twitter as well, because all the latest news we post them on Twitter. So for example, if we have call for speakers or about some events and in general about what's new in Flutter, we post them on Twitter as well. So from there you can get the access. We also have our WhatsApp group. Can you take the next slide? Yeah. We also have our WhatsApp group. It is for everyone. You can just scan this QR code and join our Flutter WhatsApp group. So even this is for our closed community, and all the details will be shared in that group as well, like we always do. And if we have some job openings or some Flutter related options, even those are posted in this group. So you can join this group as well. And right now we have a great line ahead. So first we want to have a speaker called as Rutvik, and he will talk about shaders in Flutter. Then we have Harsha ma'am. She is going to talk about Flutter block pattern. You all guys know what block patterns are, right? And how we have the block architecture in building Flutter code. After that, we'll have a short 5 to 10 minutes break, basically. Then there will be one more talk on Flutter and Firebase multi-factor authentication. Okay, and that's it. So this is the basic lineup that we have in front of you. And at the end, Parijat sir will have a basic small talk on global initiatives, what things happen in Globant and how Globant work. And at the end, we have great swags for you guys. Now, the swags, as always, are limited because Google sends very latest swags. So people who will tweet about this event, who will tag us in this event, they will get the swags. In general, this is how we distribute the swags. So keep in mind how it is kept over here. So we have Flutter Pune, Flutter Globant. You can tag us. There are some hashtags. You can just use that. Take the first thing, yes. These are the hashtags that you can use. And then we can start the event now. I hand over my mic to Sumit and Gauri.
I would like to thank Shree sir for such a great welcome note. Now I'm sure all of you are really excited for this event today. We have 3 very talented speakers aligned for you.
Hello guys, I'm Sumit Patil and I'm your co-host. Now let's actually get into the event, and I would request Gauri to welcome our first speaker.
Hi guys, I'm Gauri Bhagwat and I'll be your host today. Flutter 3.0 came with some initial support for creating custom shaders, unlocking a door for building never before seen Flutter experiences. The topic of our first talk is Shaders in Flutter by Rutvik. He is a Flutter freelancer dev and technical writer who explores creative coding with Flutter. I request Rutvik to kindly start the talk.
Thanks for the lovely introduction. So, hi everyone. So, hi everyone, I'm Rutvik, and I'm a Flutter freelance developer. I've been working with Flutter since like start of 2020. It's been 3 lovely years, and I'm also a content writer at Pieces. I write technical content around Flutter, building some cool things and all that stuff, and occasionally post on Medium and Free Code Camp as well. I'm also the author of several packages, Flutter Audio Waveforms, which is a package for like creating beautiful audio waveforms for your Flutter apps, and then another bubble selections and an asset manager CLI for like controlling your Flutter assets, like automating their generation. And for me, I have most of my work is driven by animations. The love I have for animation, games, and music. I try to find creativity in all aspects of coding, and I think like creative coding is one of the best way for we to like grow as a developer, which allows us to like explore different dimensions of how we can code and build some beautiful things. So for today's talk, what we are going to talk about is an interesting technology called shaders. This technology shaders allows for like bringing different kinds of beautiful visualization, complex scenes within video games, different kinds of image filters, and audio-video industry. Like you can see, there are some visualizations here, which are built, created with shaders. So we are going to talk about that. Okay, a brief overview of what the talk is going to be about. So about shaders, as I told you, there are different kinds of shaders. The one we are going to talk about particularly is the fragment shader, or also known as a pixel shader. We'll go on that just in a second. Second is we are going to learn how to write a basic simple shader, so you can get yourself familiarized with how you can write your own shader. Third, we are going to create a very hello world example in shader in Flutter. So there we can you will understand what will be required to like bring this amazing visualization power to your Flutter apps. To you and second last thing is Amra. It is an open source CLI tool and a package which helps in like easing the process of bringing your shaders to Flutter apps. You'll understand that in a minute. And lastly, I've prepared some demos of different shaders and visualizations, which will help you to understand the whole topic in a lot better way. So the first thing is what are shaders? Fragment shaders, as I call them, pixel shaders. So on the left hand side, you can see the painting of Mona Lisa drawn by Leonardo da Vinci. Now, when he was drawing the paintings are usually done layer by layer, right? First you draw the background, then the person in front of it, and then other objects on top of it, right? On the right hand side, you can see a machine. It's kind of acting like a GPU, which is drawing the same Mona Lisa painting on that canvas, but it's being drawn all at once, not by layer, all at once for every pixel. So shaders, so the basic idea behind shaders is like you just need to understand these two things when you have to grasp what are shaders. These are your normal programs that are executed for every pixel on the screen or your image. And these are executed for every pixel all at once. And basically, these programs are executed for every pixel all at once. That's why the computation power required for them is too much. That's why they run on GPU, which is great at handling tasks which are done in parallel. Like let's say you have a screen of a 4K screen, right? So on that screen, the number of pixels you're gonna have is going to be in terms of 10,000s or 100,000s. And now to process to do shaders on that part, GPU acts as the GPU is the best way we can use shaders. So about writing shaders, I mean, shaders are usually written with the languages that are able to talk to GPU. Why? Because as I told you, GPU is capable of rendering this complex visualization in fraction of seconds. So these languages are capable of connecting with GPU and talking it to tell it to that we want to render this particular type of shader. Different languages that are used for shaders are OpenGL shader language. Now OpenGL is a graphics library, and the GLSL is its shader language that which it uses to talk to the GPU to draw our shaders. And the other is the SKSL or the Skia shader language. Now Skia, you might be familiar, it's the rendering engine for the Flutter right now. So for that, SKSL is the shader language which Skia uses to talk to GPU. And same goes for Apple. Apple devices has Metal SL, which is their shader language to talk to the GPU. But all of these languages does the same job of rendering our shader onto the screen. Now, so now we'll take a look at a very simple example of a hello world how a hello world in shader should look like. So this is an online web editor which is available for everyone to use. This helps in writing our program, GLSL program. We are going to write our shader programs in GLSL, as I told you. So here we can see that the most important parts of program are that the main function. Yes. Okay, so this is a simple shader in GLSL which does a simple job of just drawing pin pixels on a screen. Now the important parts of this program are, as you can see, there's the main function, which is the entry point for our program. Like in Flutter, we have the main function, right, in our main.dart. So just like that, we also have a main function here, which acts as the entry point for our shader program. And at the last line, you can see that we have something called GL frag color. Now, this GL frag color is a globally available variable which is available and for that particular pixel that we are running the program right now. So if and the color that we want to set for that pixel, we do that by setting the color to the GL frag color. As you can see, the interesting thing about shaders is that it's not the same as when you are working with other, what I can say, frameworks that helps you visualize things. Because when you are dealing with pixel, I said that we are dealing at a pixel level. So every pixel has a coordinate on the screen, right? What we do is we use that coordinates to map to a color for that particular shader. And here we have a four-dimensional vector here. And that four-dimensional vector represents the four channels in a color. That is a red channel, a green channel, blue channel, and an alpha channel for opacity. To paint pixels, we basically just play with this four-dimensional vector, changing its value to change the color of the pixels that are appearing on the screen. Here you can see for this particular particular program, this program is setting the pixel for every color to a four-dimensional vector of 1.0, 0, 1.0, 1.0. That is, we have set the red channel and the blue channel to value of 1 and an opacity to 1.0. So that red plus blue will give us the pink color, right? So when you are dealing with changing colors, you basically change how you update this GL flag color and how you update the value for every vector point for that particular pixel. On top here, you can see there's this some if def GLES, and then we are setting something called as precision medium float. Now that is something we do to set the precision level for floats we are dealing with, right? Because the more precision we have in our floats, the more variations of colors we can use, right? And after that, you can see that we have three variables defined here called use resolution, uMouse, uTime. Actually, you won't be this. So basically, these are kind of the inputs that you take into the shader. So the inputs are defined by adding the uform at the front of them, and you can access that in your shader programs. So right now, the one input we have is the U resolution input. So that represents the dimensions of your screen in a 2D vector, right? You have a height and you have a width. So we are representing that in a 2D vector. Now what I'm going to do is we will try to now update the color of this shader program so that it can display a gradient on this part where it is being displayed. So to do that, okay, just a second. The one thing that we added here right now is a UV vector. Now to explain a U vector, when you are dealing with shaders, we don't directly deal with the positions of the pixels that we get, right? Like let's say you have a screen of like 1000 by 1000 pixels. So when you are trying to paint a color for a pixel and let's say 400 by 300, so we don't directly deal with those values. What we do is normalize the values that for that particular pixel. Normalization means that I have here defined a UV vector too. So what it's doing is taking the GL frac coordinate that provides us with the current coordinate for that pixel. Like let's say it's in the center of the screen and our dimension is 1000 by 1000. So that's going GL frac coordinate of xy is going to be a 500 by 500 cross 500 vector. So we get the vector for that particular pixel and we divide it by the resolution vector that we have. Now that's going to give us a value that is between 0 and 1. So 0 is going to be a 0, 0 vector and 1 is going to be the whatever the max resolution is, like 1000 by 1000, 1, 0 by 0, 0. But in normalized value from 0 to 1. Now why we have to do this normalization is that normalizing values helps us programs our shaders in a much better way. Because dealing with direct positions is much more difficult, but normalizing them to 0 and 1 helps us to also like match them with a color channel that is also a particular color channel that is also between a 0 and 1. So basically, these normalized values are used or modified to set the color for a particular channel. Okay? And so right now, let's try to show a gradient instead of this pink color. Okay. So what we have now is a very simple gradient that is for like a red and green channels, as you can see. This can be a really good way for you to understand how we paint pixels with respect to positions of the normalized vectors, right? So at the bottom left corner, you can see that there's pitch black. So that is 0, comma 0 our vector, right? But when we move towards the bottom right corner of the red axis, so that is representing the axis for our red channel. So at 1, comma 0, we have our red channel at its full length. And along the y-axis, we have the blue channel at 1, comma 0, comma 1. That's a perfectly green color. And as we try to move from 0, 0 to diagonally, you can see that the red and green colors are being merged to form different shades, and finally at 1, 1, we get a yellow color, right? So this, I hope that helps you understand that how the positions of normalized positions of the pixels helps us to create colors for the shaders. Yes. Okay. Now there are different ways to you can modify these shaders, but this was the most simple example. And when you are trying to program much complex shaders, you basically play around with this normalized position and updated value such that to get whatever the desired result you want. So now we will try to see how we can bring these shaders to Flutter and what we can do with them. So that was the basically thing that I explained right now. Coordinates with respect to the red and green channel at 1, 1. So let's talk about creating some custom shaders in Flutter and how we can bring them to Flutter. So the initial shader support, the API with the API that Flutter uses under the hood to create its shaders was made public in the Flutter 3.0 announcement. So the API that was made public will consist of a fragment program which exposes the API for creating our custom shaders. And the second thing that was about a Spearify Dart transpiler. Now, simple thing to understand about Spearify is that it basically acts as a intermediate language when you want to port your shaders from one language to another, right? So right now the shader that we coded was in GLSL, and the Flutter uses Kia, for which SKSL is its shading language. So to convert that shader from GLSL to SKSL, Spearify acts as an intermediate bridge, which is a standard which was used to basically port shaders from one language to another. So so before diving into the code, we are going to make use of an open source tool called Amra. First of all, the API that Flutter exposed for creating shaders is a bit complex and a little bit of manual work is needed for it. So what does Amra does is that it basically provides abstractions on top of the API that I talked to you about, which helps us to a beginner developer, let's say, to easily bring shaders to Flutter without a lot of manual work and a much greater experience. So here is the simple shader that we are going to try to show in Flutter. For that, first you need to install Amra. So to do that, you basically have to just so Amra is available as an Dart. So Amra has 3 different parts of it. Yes. Is that okay with everyone? You have to read the code. Okay. So Amra consists of 3 different parts. It has an Amra CLI, which helps us compile our GLSL shader to Sphere file that we'll talk about right now. And the Amra Flutter, which provides the abstraction over the fragment program that Flutter provides. So I already have the Amra installed here. If you want to install it, you can go on pub.dev and just look for Amra CLI, and there are instructions for installing it. Now to create a shader, to generate a shader and its respective files with Amra, you need to type a command. Okay. So once you have Amra installed in here, to generate a particular shader for a GSL file, the command is Amra generate. You give it the shader that is required, the GSL file for that particular shader that you are trying to create, bring to Flutter. Like it's gonna be, I already have the simple GSL file that we are using for this example. So this is the simple shader that I wrote in GLSL. What it does, it basically accepts an input color from the user and sets that for every pixel. Now, as I talked to you about that, Amra provides abstractions on top of the API that Flutter provides, but also it provides some sort of abstraction on the GLSL code that you are writing. In the previous example that I showed you in the web editor, you can see that we no longer have the main entry point here, and we already have the normalized coordinates provided through this fragment program, and also the frag coordinate, that is the non-normalized coordinate for that particular pixel. So when Amra is going to compile this GLSL, it's going to add that raw code which we saw in earlier to make it complete. But this is only to improve the developer experience and for us to focus on writing the shader part only. So I already have this in Amra shader.myshader.gsl file. So I basically provide this as an input. The input path for our shader can be provided here. And an output path, like where the Amra is going to store the file that is going to generate, like the Flutter widgets and the compiled Sphere file binary. So you can give it the path for the So the generate command takes in the input and the output path. The input is for the shader that we want to compile, and the output is where we are going to store the created files that are generated by Amra. I already have this generated, so we will directly take a look into those. So the file that is generated by Amra is the myshader.dart. That's the only file that is right now generated. Let's see what does this file have. So as you can see, we have a myshader class here. It has a compile function. I'll go over that in a minute. And function to generate the get the shader. So first, going over the compile function, what it's doing is the fragment, the API that was exposed by Flutter was this fragment program. What it does is it takes in these Sphere file binaries that are generated down here. So these are the binaries that are generated from our GLSL code, right? So these we first decode it into a buffer list, which it takes in, and then under the hood, what it does is convert this PFI binary into an SKSL code, so that Kia can render that, right? So that's the one thing about compiling your shader. The fragment program does that part. Now the next thing is, once that is compiled, what we get is a fragment program, which has an helper method called .shader, which can provide us with the shader object that we will use to show the shader in our Flutter UI. And this shader command takes in the whatever the inputs are there for your shader program. Now, another important thing about great thing about Amra is that currently the API that Flutter has for providing the inputs to the shader are loosely typed. What does that mean? As you can see, our shader program was going to take a vector3 color, right? But right here, while providing those to this shader through the float uniforms, the inputs to the float uniform can only be provided as a list of double. Now that makes it difficult to work with different input parameters, right? Now it's the same type double, so it's gonna be difficult for you. It's gonna be very easy for you to get confused between different inputs that you're providing to the shader. For this, what Amra does is that it has its own API that takes care of providing us the abstraction layer where the inputs are strongly typed. So as you can see, this is the color. It's in vector3 format. That this API was generated by Amra, so that makes it easy for us to provide different kinds of input with strong type. So let's try to use this shader that was generated by Amra and show it. Yeah. Okay. Let me build it. So till this gets built, do any of you have any questions about till this point? You got the concept of what shaders are, right, and how we try to draw them with GLSL and how the API for the Flutter works. So this is the view that's going to display our shader. What we are doing here is first the build method of this shader has this future builder. What it's doing, it's loading a future that is going to compile our shader, the compile program that we saw in just right now in the code that Amra generated. So this is going to compile our shader to the sphere file, from sphere file binary to the SKSL code. And once that compilation is done, we get the fragment program, and through the fragment program, what we do is create a shader with whatever the input field is required. And the resolution is as well as provided for your current screen there. Like rec dot said that the dimensions of that particular Flutter widget that is holding that shader. To use this shader, what we are using is a shader mask. Now, the job of the shader mask is to apply the shaders that we are providing here through the shader callback to its child. Okay, so that should have been okay. Shree. Yeah. Same thing. Need to share this. Okay, first. Yeah. So this is the shader that we just wrote and it is being displayed. So in our Flutter code, we provided it a vector that is going to paint it to a purple color. And you can now see that if you change the your input values to let's say this and reload it. So the input value that I provided is basically 111. So that gives us the white color. So this was a simple example where we saw that how we took our GLSL shader with the help of Umbra and used this shader mask to apply the shader that we generated to this Flutter widget. Okay, so. Now we'll take a look at some of the more complex examples and some demos that will help you understand that how shaders can help you in your, like let's say you want to build some kind of feature or any type of visualizations and all. So I have prepared a demo for that. Yeah. So these examples will help you understand that how you can utilize shaders and to like create different visualizations or build certain kind of features that would be not possible to do directly in Flutter, right? So you might be familiar with the custom painter, right? So it basically provides you with a canvas on which you can draw. But you can't use the custom painter when you want to create this level of visualization because it doesn't offer that level of control on what you are rendering, but the shaders do. So this is a shaders gallery demo where we are going to see some different kinds of shaders and look into how we can use them in our daily applications and all. So this is one of the shaders that I created. It's called stripe shaders. Now these are the shaders that the general nature of shaders makes it very useful when you want to create some kind of patterns, right? Some kind of repetitive patterns that you have to use. So what this stripe shader is doing, it's a simple program that has different stripes and you can like change, it has different inputs which controls how it's going to curve around the while it's trying to paint this shader. So as you can see, these shaders can be used to apply on your normal Flutter widgets like a container or a box or a background that you use, but also can be used to apply over your text that you are like. So I have a text here called shader and it's we have applied the shaders on top of it. So shader mask is one way of applying your shaders to your Flutter widget and the another is through the custom tag. So if we take a look at the code for this shader, like for this particular piece of art, it is done with the custom painter. So we'll see how it applies the shader through the custom painter. Okay, so this is the my painter class that is drawing that art. What it takes in is the shader that we got from here that we are using for the shader mask. And within our paint method, So we have a paint object defined, like you usually define a paint object when you are trying to draw something with the canvas, right? So this paint object has a parameter called dot shader, where you can provide any kind of shader object that you get. Like you usually use linear gradient with your Flutter widgets, right? So linear gradient is also a kind of shaders that are built in with Flutter. So just like linear gradient, we are providing a shader object that we generated to this painter, and just like that, it shows that, applies that to our drawings. So there are two ways you can utilize this shader object, one through shader mask, and the second is by providing it to a painter object as its shader. Now, another interesting thing that usually shaders are used for is like creating these kinds of noise visualizations, or creating a certain kind of noise to apply on images, or like in some kind of spatial effects as you see. This is a simple noise shader, which what it does, I'm providing it an image. So shaders can also take an image data as input, or any other kind of data that is like some audio stream or an image data. So how we are providing this image to this shader is basically, if we take a look at our main.dart, so in our main.dart, you can see that I already had that dash image in our assets array, and I'm loading it with the help of the root bundle. Once that's done, what I'm doing is converting that image to a list of doubles, that is, which stores the pixel values for those image. And that list of pixel values for every pixel of that image is then shared to a decode image from list function, which is a helper function when you have like pixel values of a particular image and you want to create an image object which is in the Dart UI, which can then be used for like displaying a raw image or whatever. So we get an image object that is describing Dart UI, and we are going to provide that as a parameter to our this shader. So as you can see, image is one of the parameters that this shader is going to accept. Now when we talk about accepting image data, so shaders has an input type called sampler 2D. So sampler 2D are the types which relates to a two-dimensional pixel values that we can pass to our shaders. Within its code, like if we saw the code for this, the GLSL code for this noise shader, so you don't have to worry about the other stuff right now. We are just going to see how we are utilizing the image data that we got into our shader. Okay, so within the GLSL language, we have this method called texture. What it does is takes the pixel value for that particular image at that pixel position and updates it with whatever the value that we are providing it on the right hand side. So two parameters are taken. First is the image. Okay, just I think I'll go the last of some of the examples. Is that fine? That should take 3 minutes. Okay. So there's this another shader that I built which is called pixelation shaders. Now you can use such type of shaders like when you want to hide the profile images of certain users, right? So in dating apps, like when someone likes you, so they kind of hide the picture of who liked you, right? So they either pixelate or blur you. So in such scenarios, you can use this pixelation shader. And this is a character outline shader to which we are providing the image, and it basically draws a character outline around that image. Now this type of shader is really helpful in games where you have a character, and let's say that character gets some kind of shader order, so you want to visualize that in a certain way. So you can use this shader in places like that. Game dev has a lot of requirement for shaders. Okay, so. This is another image transition shader. So shaders are also used. Like you have, you know that when you're trying different software that allow you to like add a transition when you're switching from one image to other, or like transitioning from one video part to a second video part. So in such case, these transitions are also built on top of shaders. And this is just another shader that I built, just a quick one. And this is the last shader that we're going to do with. So it's basically a music shader. So shaders can also be used to visualize the music stream. Like on Windows, like in MP3, we had these different kinds of visualizations for the audio that is playing, right? So those kind of visualizations are done with the help of shaders, because the level of control that they offer on creating such complex visualizations. So right now this shader is taking the audio stream to it, and it's going to react based on the audio that is playing. So let me just try to play it. Okay, so as you can see, the shader is reacting to the bits of the music. So whenever the beat goes down, so shader intensity rises. So this is another cool usage for Flutter, like for like building music visualization somehow. Okay, I think yeah, that is it. There are certain limitations on this paper transpiler. These are related to mostly what types you can provide. Right now only floats and saplet 2D are provided. The community is also building a lot of cool things with shaders, and you can see different examples having. So we are really making progress on using shaders in Flutter. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. If you want to contact me, I'm available at Rutvik on Twitter, or my GitHub ID is Rutvik. So, do you have any questions? For further resources on if you are trying to learn shaders, you can visit Book of Shaders, which is an online book where you can learn how to write your own shaders and shader toy for examples. And yeah, that is it. Thank you. An interesting fact that this effect that you saw all over this slide, those are actually captured from the Flutter application that we just built. Like this background shaders and this umbrella plus this one and gradient one. So yeah, that's it. That's it.
So thank you, Rutvik, for guiding us on shader. We really appreciate it. Managing the state. Okay, so now let's get to the next talk. So managing the state is one of the most important and necessary processes in an application's life cycle. Let's delve into Bloc, a flux-like state management architecture pattern for creating efficient Flutter apps. Our next topic is Flutter the Bloc Way by Harsha Tambe. Harsha has been UI developer at Globant for the past 2 years. She works on Flutter and React. I request Harsha to kindly start her talk.
Yes, hello everybody, very good morning. Just give me 5 minutes to set my PPT up. Hello, sorry for the delay, everybody. So yeah, very good morning to you. Welcome to Globant office, and I'm really glad for you to. I saw some people were here quite early at 9:30 also. There's a pardon for the delay. But yeah, we just saw a very interesting talk by Rutvik here. So I am going to talk about something called the block pattern, which is a block architecture in Flutter. So a little bit introduction about me. So my name is Harsha Tambe, and I have been working in Globant for almost 2 years now. Like interestingly, I just started with Flutter a year ago, as in just in January I just started Flutter. I was working in React earlier. Like to be really serious, this was me. This is what happened because React, because the overall technologies being from rival companies, rival everything. I was working in React happily, and then one day I encountered a training in Globant, which was given in Flutter, and I just joined it. And I just liked it so much that I have not been able to get rid of it from the past year. So Flutter, I need not tell you what exactly Flutter is. Everybody knows it's a Google development toolkit. And it also packs a lot of features in itself. Like some of them are these. There's widgets, native integration, behavioral components. We all love the pre-made widget library that it comes with. So there's so much to explore in Flutter. But today I will be talking about something called the block architecture, which is a type of state management. But then before that, I just mentioned the word architecture, right? So why exactly do we have to learn architecture? What exactly is this? The last time I had heard about this was in my college when we had this subject called computer architecture. So what exactly and why exactly now is an architecture? So architecture in simple terms is just a structure, a foundation that we lay on our code so that it is easy for it to scale up, etc. So the basic example that we can see is that take a shopping app, a basic shopping app if we can take. It's very easy to create a project with our Flutter create, and we have this boilerplate created in Flutter for us. But then to build a shopping app, what we can anyone tell me? What do we start with? What do we create first? Anyone?
Model shopping.
Sorry?
Layout. You want the layout?
Yeah. What do we start in an app? What like for example, login page we create first, okay? Or in an app we create a splash screen that we have in Flutter. Or then after login page we might add home page. Then there is the product list. Then payments. That's a basic shopping app that is there. So my fellow Instagram sisters here who got scammed on Instagram with those fake shops, they might know. On Instagram the apps or the shopping apps that they make, they're like very basic. And I have got scammed twice. That I paid also and I have not got the confirmation or nothing. Because that is the basic thing they might have created. They might not have put in their own, the structure or foundation and everything. But when you see Flipkart, Amazon, something like that, right? So in that, if you imagine we need to integrate a feature or something, they have this refund feature, they have this notifications that compel us to buy from that. So if we start with a basic Flutter app, today if I start with creating an Amazon with the knowledge I have, an Amazon shopping app, it will something look like that, the first picture, the spaghetti code, right? So I could just add pages in it, and in the end it will be something like that. And it's not scalable, it is difficult to add in, it's difficult to make new changes in that, and it just looks weird. So architecture is what? Architecture helps. In the start, it might be a bit painful that for us, it might be a bit painful to maintain the structure, maintain the files, etc. But over time, it has a solid foundation, better code maintainability, and high reliability. Okay. So enough about architecture here. So today's main topic is the block pattern architecture, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. So the block pattern. Now, there are many patterns in Flutter that can be followed. Today I'm going to talk about block pattern because that is one of the first things that I got to explore in Flutter over the past year. So block literally translates to business logic component. So what exactly? So the first thing that we could think of while creating an architecture, while working with an architecture is separating the concerns, right? This phrase you might have heard a lot, separation of concerns. So what we do is we separate our presentation or our logic from, like we don't keep them in one file, we separate them in different layers. So block exactly does that. It separates the business logic from the UI and it acts as a bridge between the UI and the data. And how does it do that? It feeds on events. The word feeds is important. It feeds on events and emits states. Now, what exactly are events and states? So, event can be considered as simple as a button click, and state is something that a widget has in its life cycle, like the data that it has in the widget life cycle. So here we have a widget tree, and in that we can see we have our My App and the login screen, the same shopping app examples here. But when we have to pass our state, pass our data from My App to the last leaf widget down here, we have to pass it through multiple widgets in between if we are using a basic set state that comes out of the box in Flutter. Or also, because the data flow is unidirectional, we cannot share state between My App bar and My Cart here because it's a bit upward curve. So that's where state management comes into picture. So state management is defined as we are trying to create a global state which could be accessed by all the widgets at once. And block architecture is one of the ways we can do that. Who remembers this? Okay, so we all have, the colors of books might change depending on when we have passed out, but HCRMA is there. In that, you might have come across this example of this water stream. The water stream is going downwards, water stream is going upwards, wooden log is traveling, the boat is coming from this side, and then they'll meet, etc. So the reason I'm explaining this, I have mentioned this here is, block, as I mentioned earlier, works with streams. Works with something called streams, and they're exactly, you can consider them as water streams. So a stream is a data flow, and the wooden log or the boat is the data present in it, and it is an asynchronous stream. So because it's a stream, it will have a starting point and an ending point, like an input and an output. So those streams has a sink. The sink is called the entry point, and the exit point is also called a stream output, but we'll talk about it later. And in the middle sits the stream controller. So stream controller is responsible for working on the data that is coming in, modifying the data, so that the UI does not have to worry about it. So that's what block takes care of. So block has these three main ingredients in it. That's the stream controller, the sink, and the output stream. So that's that's the basis of what block does. Okay. Now this might seem a bit simple. So let's complicate it a bit. So this is what exactly is like a major working can be explained through this diagram. It has same stream controller stream, and this is what block exactly does. So this is the purple circle here is the UI, and that has been separated by the business logic, that is the block part. Now how exactly does this work? So it all starts with events. The first thing I told you about was events, right? So it starts with event. Here in this app we have a non-pressed, we might write a non-pressed in our .dart file. That goes into the sink catches the thing which is present in block. So that event is added. So .add is the syntax for it. The add event is added to the sink with the sink that is present in block. So that's how the data enters. Then in the block, the data is processed and the stream controller processes it. As you can see, the upper pipe-like thing that's there. And in the end, it gives a stream. Now we have an invisible hero here. That is the stream builder, which I did not talk about. So what stream builder exactly is? It is a widget. It is a type of widget that re-renders itself as soon as it senses a change in state or it senses that a stream is incoming. Constantly it is listening to the stream, right? So as soon as there is an output stream present, the stream builder is listening to the stream and it captures the snapshot and then it sends it to the widget, and that's how the widget is viewed. So that's the whole working of block in theory. That is basic. So yeah, any questions as of now? Like the theory is good. We'll dive into some code right now. Just give me 5 minutes. I will manage my code. questions? How do I zoom out? So yeah. Yeah, okay. Initially, as in the theory, I had spoken about how it started, right? So, how can we say that the story of this whole, the film of this whole vlog starts? Can anyone tell me? Yeah. So it starts with events. So that's how we should also start when we're writing a blog. First, identifying all the events that are present in our project. So blog, because it is like a state management part, and we are differentiating different files. I thought the simplest way to explain that is using our basic counter example that is there, that comes with the Flutter create boilerplate. So I have just modified it a bit, and later I'll show you how that is different from what comes with it. Okay. So yeah, as he rightly said, we will start with events. So in a counter, what can be an event? It's the click of that increment counter, right? So what we did here, we have an increment count. We can also add minus button for decrement count. So I have listed down all the events in here. I've created a class for it. Now because block takes only one class at a time, I have created an abstract class as a counter event, and then the variations of it can be extended on that abstract class. The next thing that happens is that event is triggered from the UI, right? So I had explained to you about the stream builder, which is like a widget present. So in our landing page, that is my main page, we have written here an onPressed function, which, as I told you, adds the event to the counter event sync. So which event we are adding here? Increment event we are adding that we had written in our event.file. Now where does it go from here? It goes from our main view. Now there are some steps that we can follow while writing our main block file. First is creating a class of our block and initializing it, the data name. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there's a stream controller present which controls the data flow in our stream. So we might need multiple stream controllers here, because first will be a stream controller for the counter, and the second will be a stream controller for the event. That is the event that will be triggered. So the stream controller for the counter is created here. That is the counter stream controller, and because stream controller is a package from that async package, we don't have to import any other libraries or the package external packages. So we don't have to add them in our dependencies in our PubSpec or YAML file. It comes out of the box. So stream controller is present, and we have given it as a type int because we are creating a stream controller for our counter, which is like the data, the initial data. And then for that, we also need to create a sink, because that's where the sink will be present, and that's the input part of it. Input part of the stream will be present. So this is the syntax of it. So in the stream controller package, in the stream controller library, we don't call it sink, it is called stream sync. So that's what it's called. It's not just sync, it is called stream sync. That is the property that comes from the stream controller package. Now, as I said, we created a stream controller for our counter, and now we need a stream controller for our event as well. So that is where stream counter event controller has been created, and the type has been given as the counter event abstract class that was created in our events, that event.bat. So that is what our counter event. And similarly, we have created a sink also that will expose it exposes the sink for our input elements that is there. Okay, done. So controllers are in place, sinks are in place. Now because there's an input, we'll get an output, and we don't need two outputs. There's only one output that is going to come out. So in between, I have created a stream output that comes out like that as a syntax, just dot stream, and the stream controller that we are using for it is the controller of the counter, not for the event. Because event will happen inside the stream controller that will be done. For the output, we have to refer this counter stream controller only. So that's how we had initialized this. Now the next step is creating a function for that will actually increment the counter, which is here. So this is the function that will actually increment the counter, and that will add an incremented dot count into the stream. Okay, so that will be listened to by the output stream. Now the third thing we'll do is, since we created a class as a counter block, we need a constructor for it. So in that constructor, we will listen to that function, because this dot listen function will listen to that count function, which is incrementing the counter. And lastly, one of the most important things to do is to dispose of our stream controllers. Because if we don't do that, it could lead to data leaks, or because this is an independent block, right? So any widget can subscribe to it, any widget can listen to it, or even manipulate it or change it. So we need to dispose. So we write a dispose function at the end. Now how does it connect to our main landing dot? So in our landing page here, as I mentioned earlier, Stream Builder is the widget which re-renders itself as soon as it finds that there's a change in the stream or change in the state in the stream. So here we have created a Stream Builder, and we have passed our block.stream counter to it for it to listen. And yeah, but before that also, because we need to connect our block to our this landing page dot file, what we do is, once we create once we create a class that extends the state, we write in this we initialize our counter block with this syntax, like counter block, and we just call in the counter block. So as soon as this is done, it will initialize that constructor that is present in our block file, and that will start the listening process of it. So that whenever there is a change, it will re-render the widget. Yeah, so this is the implementation of our basic block, and honestly, there won't be any change in the UI from whatever our counter block is present, like the counter app that is there. There won't be any change in UI, but this is how it will look, and this is the folder structure that will be here. So for every feature, it will have block .dart file, event .dart file, and like that. So that's how we have separated the block.dart, which is like the logic of that counter feature, and the landing page.dart is like the UI for that counter feature. That's the separation of concern you can see in the folder structure. So as the app grows, if it is a shopping app again, we can segregate different blocks and put them in a folder. We can segregate different events, segregate different pages, put them in a pages folder, and that's how it's easier to scale using block. So that was about block. But then, as I mentioned earlier, we have not used any external packages, etc. There is a block package present, which provides a block provider, etc. properties into it, and that can be used. But I just wanted to explain the basics of what exactly block is, so that one can build over it, one can build and add more functionality to it. So that is also one of the famous things that I have heard in block while working with block is RxDart. Like it is coupled. People say it's coupled with RxDart. It is coupled with we cannot use block without RxDart. Yes, it's true. Of course, it is just RxDart is just an extension of the streams class. Like it just adds more properties to it, so that it's easier for us. There are more there's a merge property which can merge two streams and get us an output for two streams at once. So RxDart is just a little bit different context, syntax. I have also created an RxDart block here. So if you create a block using RxDart, it will look something like this. Now there are other things also, use cases and repositories, but yeah, that can be explored over it. So the basic, what a block consists of, what it exactly, what are its main features, what are its main pillars is what I wanted to explain. So that is this. So through this you might have understood why exactly block is important. First reason that you can give, or even I give, is the state management that is really on spot on. As in the block that I just created could be subscribed and could be listened to by any widget. So the tree that I had shown earlier, that comes into picture here. So the tree I had shown earlier, the my card can directly listen to the payments area, like the payments widget, and that can be used, the data or that the state can be used or shared between those two widgets. So that's about block, and so I think I have you worked on only block. And so I'm not sure what other advantages or disadvantages can present. One disadvantage is that I have seen is that as we just saw, right, a simple counter application, there were multiple files that we had to create. So that's the code, the code base increases, that the number of files increase. But I think that can be handled with extensions or something like that. So yeah, anybody has any? That's me with my time. And thank you for listening so patiently. It's my first talk, and also it has been some time in Flutter. So yeah, I'm glad to present this in front of you.
You use the block pattern to detect the state change in the button of the button, and then proceed on to the counter code. Right, it increments the counter. So in the projects that I build whenever I'm working on Flutter, what I do is at the press of the button, it calls another tag file that I've created, and instead of using block, what I do is in that file I have a simple function that increases the counter. So what I want to ask is, what's the significant difference between using block to access that file instead of directly accessing it? So the first thing could be the safety feature, that anyone can access that file. So to remove it, we can, that could be one. But like in the market, like when you're working on professional apps that you plan on publishing for the people, why block? Like, why not just simply call that file straight up?
So you're calling that file,
Yeah.
so you have just removed those function file and put it in.
Yeah.
Have you created a different block also, which takes care of the?
Yeah. So there's two files. One tag file for the UI, another tag file which which maintains all the code, like changing of variables, updation, and all. So anytime that I want to call that file, I simply mention it, like the function which is in that page, and I import that page as a package to my UI.
Correct.
So
what do you use for the state updation? The same thing.
on click.
So set state you're using then?
Yeah. No. On click of the button, it calls the function in my other tag file, which I have imported as a package in my previous one.
Yeah. So in that function, what have you written? You will write something to change the state. Like you have not written anything to change, update the state.
No.
So the main .dat file that would be a stateful.
Yeah,
file.
it's a stateful.
Stateful. So
since
then
the number.
and then you have removed the function in other file and that you're calling in.
Yeah.
So now you tell me if there's one more file which needs that which does not need that initial counter. It needs that updated counter. If it's a counter. So how will that other file access that updated counter?
I could import the main.file as a package into that new file.
Yeah, but
and then get the.
So where is that
global
updated counter stored?
It's stored in a global variable.
So using that's so that.
Yeah.
So I hope it's.
Regarding statement in block where we store the global state, because currently it was just a counter example, so I didn't want the more picture.
Yeah, okay. So in code wise, so whenever we are initializing this block, so this is initialized counter block. I hope I'm right. Yeah. So this is the initialized counter block. So that's where, so whenever we are implementing, the block will have this data, and all the UI widget will have to do is just listen to the stream that is coming out. So that's the updating of the data, because the updation is happening just here, right, in this block.
So whichever page or feature what the user counter, they have to subscribe to that stream.
Yes, exactly. So we have done here, we have subscribed to the stream in our stream builder here. That's the initial data present.
So every stream
Widget.
can hold multiple data, or minimum one data is required in a stream.
And so one widget will have its one data, right? One data state. So stream builder is like a widget, so it will have its own data.
Now I'm thinking from React perspective, in the similar background which you have React,
Correct.
Redux.
Right.
So it is very difficult to switch from Redux to Block because they're totally pattern different.
And don't compare it. I made the same mistake. Don't compare it. This is completely different thing because the syntax is also a little different. Yeah, there are similarities with our stateful, stateless widget, stateful, stateless component. But the block pattern, yeah, you can draw similarities, but then that would lead to a little bit confusion.
So here, every feature wise or page wise, we can create different blocks. So there is no like we have reducer, comma reducer. So similarly, we have streams here.
So so blocks for different features. So that could depend on the project. You do it layer first or feature first. For different pages, for every action you might create a new block. Like same shopping example, for payments there could be a different block, and it could contain all the functions for that payments page. Similar to think other ways.
So what are the applications where this technology is in current use?
Block architecture, like we use it in our project here. We use it in Globant currently. So I worked in a hospital project that's called Baptist Health for Florida hospitals. We have used Block in there. So I'm working in a Disney project currently. They're also using Block here. So Disney app, if you go to Disney parks, the entry, the registration process, the entry point, inside also, and not because Flutter is cross-platform. The IoT devices also have this code in Disney parks. So there also we have used.
How we can use multiple streams?
I think RxDart could help you with that. You can explore in that, and also the stream controller package provides a lot of properties in that. Here I have just shown the counter example, which is a basic one. So maybe you can explore that.
Can we compare provider and block? And what is block provider?
Provider can be considered, but I don't think provider is like from the basic sense. It's not a state management. It provides some functions which can help with the data sharing. Not exactly state management, but yeah, block and provider can be compared. I have not worked with provider yet, but yeah, block. But you can consider them as similar patterns.
Have you seen any challenges for previous, like whatever you have worked on, but like with the block? Have you seen any challenges using block?
Yes, so of course, no pattern is perfect. The main challenge, as I mentioned earlier, also a lot of boilerplate.
Yeah.
It's so big, so bigger boilerplate will not make sense. But yeah, I will not recommend block for any smaller project, like just what you can say. If it's a hot air website which just shows the data, you don't need block for that. You can use a basic stateful status widget. There's no data sharing happening, nothing happening. So try to keep it simple if you're making a simple app, but only for medium to larger sizes of apps, blocks can help because the state is used, the data is used, there's user data, there's payments data, there can be a lot of things that are being shared. So in that case.
Actually, I have a small use case over here. Say suppose I'm creating a food app where I'm going to the menu, and say suppose I'm adding or say removing any menu out of my cart. So these two things are updating it simultaneously with respect to my cart and where I'm keeping the
So you are adding menus.
Let's say suppose I'm ordering a food. Say suppose.
You're ordering.
Yeah. So it might be case that I'm increasing that whatever will be the count of that particular say item, and meanwhile also we need to show that in our cart that is also getting updated. So these two things are somewhere two different means at the same time we are updating these two things. So how should we proceed using this block?
Okay, so just first identify the different actions that are present that you just mentioned in it. So for each action, what are you doing? So there will be, so you said you're ordering food, basic Zomato food. If Zomato we can consider, we select a restaurant, we add things into our cart, and then go. So the first block that could be present is displaying the hotel list that is there. So fetching that hotel list and displaying that. Second block can be adding it to the cart. So every action is like is the user is doing is like the what you can say, the change of data that the user is initializing, right? Initiating. So for any change and sharing of data, block can be used. So identify the steps, identify the events that are there, and then create different blocks for each of those events, each of those actions. Anyone else?
I know basic Java and Express.js and Node.js. So what should I learn next? Flutter or React?
What are you interested in more, web or mobile apps?
I guess I'm planning to build some web apps.
Okay.
Move on to my product.
Okay, then the JavaScript, the knowledge of JavaScript never goes waste, first of all, because the web is based on it. There are a lot of technology based on it. And I used to work on it. So there's inside of JavaScript there's a lot. So I would suggest go into JavaScript first. If you really like it, then go on to React. If you don't like it, if you are like this, if you are from Java, right? Like that is also purely object-oriented programming language. So if you don't like JavaScript, then shift to Dart. Like just explore. I think that could help. I cannot take sides here. I have been in both waters.
Can we create generic block
For
utility? You want to create a generic block and we can use in multiple
yeah. So block, a generic block as in block is shared between, like, can be shared between different widgets. Like the state in the block is shared between, can be shared between different widgets. So generic block as in, now I created this counter, right? So that is like the generic block only. It will contain all the increment, decrement. If I add any other counters also.
I want to update any type of data inside my main generate data. Yes.
So besides integer, we say suppose wanted to linear generate data.
Yes, yeah. We just pass the data type here. So streams are like, because block works on streams and stream is a data flow. Streams is an asynchronous flow of, can be anything, maps, collections, integers, strings. It could be anything.
What does exactly Flutter UI developer do? What technology should be front end, back end, otherwise UI, UX,
Yeah, so we work on UI. I work on UI. So the Dart language is present and the Flutter is present. So it has integration with Firebase, etc. So I have worked on UI in Flutter, and all my life I have been UI developer only. For backend, I have learned a little bit of Node.js, but that sits with the web part, right? So for this, I'm not sure.
For the UI part, you need to learn Figma, Adobe, and all that things, or just front end of Flutter?
That is UX. User design is a different, I think, field completely, and UI development, I think, is a completely different thing. So in our office, in Globant office, we have our design studio that provides us with the designs, the Figma designs and etc. We don't have to worry about it. What we work on is directly we get the design and we start working on the design with the Flutter's widgets or all those things that are there. So, but if you study, like if you want to go into the design direction, that's also very cool. Okay, pani pilo abhi. So yeah, thank you so much.
Answering all our questions as well. You explained it very nicely. Guys,
I think I'm your
guys, we have a short break for 5 minutes and then we'll continue with our last talk. So before that, I would like to remind you all once again about the tweeting. We have limited swags, right? So just make sure that you tweet, retweet, because at the end we have swag distribution. Okay, thank you. You can have the break. Last talk. The topic of our last talk is Flutter and Firebase multi-factor authentication by Shree Bhagwat. Shree is the founder and CEO of Codeaamy, an app development company, lead mentor and Flutter advisor at Codeco, formerly known as Ravendellage, Flutter tech lead at abacus.co, a corporate trainer, YouTuber, and a public speaker. I would like to request Shree to start his talk.
Hello. Okay, so I guess we are back with a short break. Okay, just a minute.
Harsha, link for this.
Thank you. Yeah, so I guess both the screens are visible now. Yeah? Yeah, so my today's topic is Flutter and Firebase with that multi-factor authentication. So basically, before running or jumping into the topic, do you guys know about Firebase in general? What is Firebase? Yes. What is Firebase? It's a serverless backend system made by Google itself. Flutter is made by Google. So we are going to use both the Google technologies to create an authentication. What is authentication? Can anyone tell me in short, brief?
To verify the person.
Okay, to verify the person. Any other question? Any other answers for this authentication?
Identify the person.
Identify the person. Okay. What do you understand by the word called as multi-factor authentication?
Multiple source.
Or
Multiple level of
to verify authentication again, right? We can call that way. Multi-factor, two or more than one authentication, right? So let's start with the topic. You guys already have much of the knowledge about Firebase and Flutter and multi-factor authentication in general. So I'll explain those in detail over here. So before moving ahead, already did a nice introduction about myself, but just to brush up again, my name is Shree Bhagwat. I am founder of Codeaamy, which is an app development company, and we create applications for clients with their requirements and the details we get from them. Apart from that, I'm also an co-organizer of Flutter Pune. So thanks for Flutter Pune to arrange this event over here, and again thanks to Globant to provide us the venue for this event over here. I'm lead mentor, Flutter lead mentor and Flutter advisor at Codeco, formerly known as raymindalik.com. And apart from that, I also present myself as a public speaker, corporate trainer, and also YouTuber at free time when I have a few time spare with the busy schedule that I have right now. So yes, let's get started. Before that, again, special thanks to Flutter Pune and Globant to host and arrange this event. Okay, so before going ahead, can you tell me what is Flutter? Flutter क्या है?
Framework.
It's a framework. Yes, good, short, simple, but थोड़ा elaborate करेंगे ताकि चलो what is Flutter in general? Toolkit, yes, and why? उसका mean क्या है? What is the key? Cross-platform. Yes. So Flutter is a cross-platform framework used to build application in Android, iOS, macOS, where, barabar? Yes. So with Flutter we can support multiple platforms. Okay. So it's also by Google, and the main part is that you get all this support from a single code base. मतलब आपको हमेशा कोड करने की जरूरत नहीं, एक बार कोड करो हो गया from a single code base. So that point is very important. And what is Firebase? Again, so if you see, it is an app development platform. Google का definition है again that helps you build and grow your applications. But I would like to explain this as a serverless backend service. Why serverless? Because you don't have to create your own server when you have to use Firebase. Okay, the Firebase manages everything. So it's a serverless backend system. In that, you can have authentication, database, real-time database, remote config, anything else, hosting. So there are multiple features which Firebase provides us. Okay. Now authentication over here, as the definition given by general Google layman language, is that to verify the person if the person which that person is claiming himself, is it right or wrong, or is it true or false? Is the person verified actually? That is called the authentication. Why do we have authentication? To secure our data. The whatever data that we have or we are going to present, to secure that we need authentication. Let's say I have a whole set of confidential data at my place. I don't want it to be open for everyone, right? I don't want anyone logging into my website and just logging all the employees' data and all the work data that I have. So what I'll do is I'll just add an email ID and password, basic. So if the person who has the email ID and password can only access that data, even that is a kind of authentication. A low-level basic authentication. In general, when we open a laptop, we have password, right? You type your password, even that is authentication. The laptop verifies if the person who is accessing this laptop has those credentials. And when you enter those credentials, then you can access the data. So even that is kind of an authentication. Now, Firebase supports multiple kind of authentication. We can authenticate using Google, where you can just click or you can sign with your Gmail and password, right? Then we have Facebook authentication, we have Twitter authentication, we have GitHub, and we also have our basic 4 OTP authentication, right? You guys have used any of this? Yes. Google to kya hi rahega sabne, right? Google is easy, basic, and you have also used email ID and password and 4 authentication. These are common. Rarely people go with GitHub and LinkedIn and Twitter and Snapchat, everything, right? But yes, these are few common and people usually use them. That's why I mentioned the common ones. But sometimes if your Google account, the Gmail account is compromised, or if your email ID and password is compromised, then there are chances that whatever data that you have can be accessed by anyone who has it. So it's called as broken authentication. When your authentication system breaks down due to some malfunctioning from your side or from the server code that you have written. Recently, if any one of you read the news or articles, the Google Pixel faced a major authentication problem where users were able to open the device without entering the PIN, right? You read that, right? So that is called as a broken authentication or a flag between the authentication. That was from Google's side. So this is not that high level broken authentication, but just to give you information that authentication part is a major role. So you have to pay attention when you authenticate user or when you create some authentication into your applications. Okay. Now breaking single protection layer is easy. When you authenticate a user, if you just have a single layer of authentication, it is easy to break because you just have to find one normal bug or you just have to break one layer. That's it, right? Then how to safeguard this? Can anyone tell me? Using multiple layers, simple. अगर एक तोड़ना easy है तो दो तीन डाल दो यार. बाकी का देख लेंगे, but at least this is a simple way to safeguard the application. So you can do it in a very newbie way to just authenticate email 2-3 times by Fix authenticate, but no, we don't want that. So by adding extra protection, right? With that we can do it. Now multi-factor authentication वही करता है. You have to authenticate twice. One with the basic authentication that you have chosen, for example, email, your Google authentication, then LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever you choose. And apart from that, you also have to authenticate yourself with phone number and OTP. Okay? With phone number and OTP. Now there are two scenarios. हम पहले एक basic scenario लेते हैं where we are using email, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, where we are actually not using 4 OTP. If you are using 4 OTP at the first time, then what's the point of again using phone authentication at the multi-factor again, right? It doesn't make any sense. So what scenario side में रखते हैं here? We'll just check the basic scenarios where you are not entering your phone number for OTPs. Okay? So this is one scenario, and this is where multi-factor authentication can help you. So multi-factor authentication is a feature that allows the user to add an extra layer of security. It's often a good idea to add multi-factor authentication so users' data is more secure. This is the definition given by Firebase itself. So कुछ definitions अगर हम display करेंगे तो अच्छा रहेगा basically. So Flutterfire. किसको पता है? Who knows what is Flutterfire? CLI for Firebase. Anyone else? कोई elaborate कर सकता है?
Plugin that combines with Flutter.
Firebase and Flutter, yes, right. So basically, Flutterfire is a plugin created by Invertase, right? And they were the first to bring Firebase to Flutter as a platform when Google supported it. So basically, you had to add Firebase separately for iOS, Android, web. But now with Flutterfire, you can do directly. So I'll give you a short demo how to install Flutterfire easy. I won't go deep into that. There are basically 2 or 3 commands that you have to just write into a terminal, and the Firebase Flutterfire plugin will be installed. So basically, first you have to just install npm global Firebase tools. Okay, this will help you to install the Flutterfire CLI as well. And after that, you have to activate it. What do you mean by activate? Activate it means it should be available throughout your entire system, right? And it should be global, right? It should be global, not restricted to some directory or anything. It should be accessible throughout the system. But for that, you also have to make sure that you set the path of it, okay? Because it can be accessed throughout terminal entirely. So this is how you will set the path, but this is the temporary method. If you want to really set the permanent path, just make sure what your terminal is. If it is a ZSH, then you have to add this path to your ZSH RC profile, and if it is bash, then your bash profile. And where you will find those? In the root of your Mac directory. They are hidden. Command Shift period will unhide the files so that you can add them. And you can use your basic text editor to add those path in that. And I think if you have installed Flutter, you already know how to add the path, right? Otherwise, you can't run Flutter off. Okay, then set the Firebase project, go to the console, create a new project, and just do the following steps that we have to do. I guess everyone knows how to set Firebase project in Flutter. पता है सबको? पक्का? किया ना set? Okay. And then make sure we will add multi-factor with email and password. So we are just taking a normal scenario where we are adding multi-factor with email and password. Basic, जो सबके लिए आसानी रहेगी वो. Okay. So before you begin with MFA, multi-factor authentication, you have to make sure that the email you're authenticating user for the first time is verified. ठीक है? तो email verify कैसे करेंगे? Whenever we create a user with login, you get the user back, right? There is this normal function where you call sign in with email and password, and after that you can go the conditional forwarding where you click dot then and you get the value, and from value you get value dot user, you will get the user from that value, right? So you have to just make sure that user dot send email verification. So call this function. This will verify the email if it is accurate email or if it is just a fake email. You will get the normal OTP on the email which you have to enter. Everything will be handled by Firebase. You don't have to go deep into that. Okay? So just user.send email verification function will do this for you. It will verify the email. Why? Because it doesn't want you to get locked out of your account if your email is not verified. That's why you have to verify your email before going ahead. Okay, then you have to actually go to your Google identity platform, right? So where is this identity platform? In your Firebase, you have to open your Google console, right? And in Google console, you will get this identity platform and you just have to enable it. Enable identity platform. Why? To make sure on which platform your application is, right? So you have to enable that. And once you will enable the identity platform, you will get all the details of MFA and other authentication that it has, along with the native or the previously old authentication present. And Firebase is coming with new authentication to safeguard your procedure or the safeguard the user's data at the backend. And MFA is just the start of it. Okay. After that, you have to select SMS-based multi-factor authentication. So after clicking enable, you will get a drop-down window or a page will have all these options. In that, you have to select SMS-based multi-factor authentication. You have to enter a test key, test phone number. Now, what is this test phone number? When you will actually test your device, you will test the authentication on the device, you will have to enter your phone number, right? If you will enter your own phone number, you will get OTP on your phone number. But then there is a daily limit of 50 for testing. Anyone knows that, right? Yeah. And if you retry again and again in a minute or two, Firebase blocks it for security reasons. So we don't want you to face those issues in your testing and development. So just create any random 9-digit number, 10-digit number, and create any random 6-digit OTP. Usually I go, the test number is 99999 and my OTP is also 699. So you can just try that. If you're creative, you can go with 919191. It's up to you what number you use. But yes. And then you have to authorize the domain. So it's simple. You have to just click authorize domain and Google tells you the steps. Just click next, and at the end it will authorize it for yourself. Okay? So it's nothing very difficult or something that you would understand. Just follow the on-screen guide. Google is very good with these guides. So I won't go deep in that. And then you have to verify. For iOS, as usual, Apple likes to keep itself different from the crowd. So you have to verify your app separately again. And for that, you have to enable silent APX notification. And for that, you have to enable push notification background service. So what Firebase does is that when you enable identity platform, it actually sends a small silent push notification and it verifies if it is received on the same device. Okay? That is everything handled internally. all you have to do is just enable that one thing. Okay, that is it. So that authentication can proceed ahead and you can get the notifications. Just to make sure that this device is able to get the notifications, you have to enable that. There is another way where you can skip this part completely and just try to go with the reCAPTCHA part, but that is a difficult method. I would still suggest this, the very easy method, where all you have to do is just turn on the silent notifications. That's it. Now, there is this factor that you have to choose called as enrollment factor. Basically, what is enrollment factor? How you want to inculcate multi-factor authentication inside your application. So generally, there are some basics that they have created for you. The first one is called as second factor authentication. What it does is, once you authenticate your application with the basic authentication kind of Gmail, email, Facebook, Twitter, after that, on the next page itself, it will ask you for a phone number, where you will enter the phone number, you will get the OTP and you will re-authenticate the user. That is one scenario. But in this scenario, the authentication process is increased. So usually companies don't try this. They just make sure to have a very smooth onboarding. Okay. Then there is another authentication called as two-factor authentication that we have heard, where you go into the profile and you enable two-factor auth. So this is the second way, the second enrollment, where you actually enable the add from profile method, where you will get an option. You have to add that option in UI, and you can choose this option where you have to show the pop-up, and then you have to add the phone number and you get the OTP and re-authenticate the user. Okay. So if the person enables that from the profile page, then only he or she will get it. Then there is another option called as skippable option. It's up to user. If you want to, you can, or you can just skip that part. So it's completely up to user. And the last that they have given is incremental. So let's say I have an application, and in application some area is open for everyone and some area is restricted only to members, or let's say pro users, and for that part we can add this. So it's called as incremental. So the basic level and incremental level, this is the distinguish between an application. So free users, pro users, that way you can do it. So this is called as incremental level. So, and you don't have to stick to it. If you feel there is some other need that you want, you can create your own enrollment. It is simple, right? All you have to do is work your code through it. We will use the second factor to test this, because if you know and understand how second factor is, the rest of the three factors works the same way. All you have to do is just change some flags. Okay. So first is where you re-authenticate the user, right? And that you do it by asking their phone number. We will see both the scenarios where you will actually enter just the phone number at the first. But right now we are just going to check if you just use your email or any other authentication without the phone number. So what you have to do is, before you use any multi-factor authentication, you have to authenticate the user first, right? So sign in the user with the first factor over here, email and password, but the case is same for all other authentications. For example, Google, LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook, it is the same. So once you do that, you have to add that code into your try-catch block. Okay, you're signing with email and password, you have to add that in your try-catch block. And the best part with the new Flutter CLI is you can catch an error which says Firebase or multi-factor exception. So if you have enabled the multi-factor, your authentication over here will throw this error. Okay, this will throw this error for you so that you can catch and you will get a code block where you can run your multi-factor authentication code. So you can see on the screen, sign in with email and password, and I'm entering email as email.text, password as controller.text that we have. I guess you guys know this. How to extract email and password from text. You create a controller on top and then you just get controller.text to extract values from the text that you enter. Clear? बराबर है ना? हाँ कुछ गलत हो तो बोल देना मेरे को. And then inside the try catch block, we use the Firebase or multi-factor exception catch e. जो e है ना, उसके अंदर वो हमारा सब data है that we get from the Firebase. Okay. So what we do is we have to send a verification message, right? We caught the block, कि multi-factor is on, but we are not using it, right? So inside that block, you have to use Firebase or dot instance dot verify phone number. This is just a verify phone number function that we have. This is different than the OTP that we use. Okay. So we have a multi-factor session, and we are passing the session. Now when you get this session, I'll let you know. But right now we are just passing a session. This is one session per authentication. Okay. Whenever you're authenticating, this is just one session from start to end. So we are in between this session, and multi-factor info will have the hint. Hint is the normal text that you send. Please enter your phone number for extra security, or it is customizable. You can enter whatever text you have. In that, we have some code blocks. So first is verification completed code block, where if the verification is completed, what code you have to run. The second is verification failed code block. If your verification fails, what you have to do or which error you have to show. And then code send. So here you will get the verification ID and the resend token. If by chance you time out, or if you want to resend, or there is no OTP received at your end and you want to resend the OTP, for that you will have to use this. Okay. And then code auto retrieval timeout. This is where the timeout function will be get called. And on top you have resend token, where you have to resend the token ID. Now coming to the main point, the session part is very important. Without session, this won't work. For hint, you can pass a valid string converted to Firebase error method, but then session is very important. And how to get that session? From your exception that we called. The E that we had in the exception is from there we can get the session. So final session is equal to E dot resolver. What is a resolver? The name which tells something that will resolve your exception. Remember, we have the exception block, right? So these are errors. So to get the data out of error, you have to first resolve that. Handled by Firebase again. So you're calling the resolver function inside the exception, and then you're getting the session out of that resolver. Okay? So you're getting the session out of that resolver which has resolved your cache, the error that you have caught. And then you will also get the hint. Final hint is equal to E dot resolver dot hints, and in the add you can pass whatever hints that you want to pass. Okay? And then after resolver is done, this is how you get the final function that we have. So the final SMS code is equal to await get SMS code from user, right? And then you are passing the context. If SMS code is not equal to null, then what you have to do? Then you have to do the credentials, phone or provider, and you have to log in again with your phone or provider, right? How we did the authentication user over there, and you can see we are logging over here, and then e.resolver is helping to resolve the sign-in method that we have. And multi-factor for generator, it gets an assertion saying that the credentials are valid, and the user that we have, this user is authenticated again and is the same user that we have. And at the end, we also have the final Firebase of exception, which will throw if any of these functions will fail from top to bottom. Got it? ये कोड में कुछ सबमिशन चाहिए आपको फिर से यहाँ पे. So again, if you will see, we are using the get SMS code from user is the function. It's a user function, not a Firebase function. Okay, and we are using that, and we are getting the user's context, and from that we are again using phone or provider, and in that we have to pass credentials, right? And we get the credentials from the verification ID that we had before on the previous function. Here, the verification ID, you can see we get the verification ID from here. So this should be inside this code block. We get this verification ID and we also get the SMS code. If these are matched, then only the authentication will take place again and your multi-factor authentication system will be done. And congratulations, you have successfully signed in as a user using multi-factor authentication. Now, this is one scenario. Let's come back to our main scenario where, okay, yes, this part again. Now, this was the scenario when we had email and password, right? Where we actually just used email and password and then inside this code block we call instance verify phone number. But if you are using method where at the first part itself when you pass the phone number and OTP, right? At this part the scenario plays different. Okay? When you do that, over here you won't get an OTP again. Why? Because there is no point in sending the OTP twice. So at this point, it will do all the verification on itself and it will re-authenticate the user. Okay? So if you are using phone number, that's it. It will send OTP once. You have to enter that. And in this function, as we have done for Apple, it will just send a normal notification which will re-authenticate the user, verify, okay, it's the same user. I hope this part is clear. Right? And you will get all that in the recent token data. So you can call that data from that code block. Any questions regarding this? Yes.
What was the how it got resolved?
Yeah.
What was the what is
E is the this is in the exception block.
okay. It's an exception.
Yeah, this entire code in the exception block you have to run. Okay, then you get this E is the exception. Await.e resolver, I have mentioned it before. The E is the exception, and you have to resolve that exception. That's why you are calling the resolver function provided by Firebase Excel. So you are in an exception block only over here. This E, right? Yeah, it's the exception. Any other question? Yes.
Firebase provides cross-site authentication. If you are logging in a React and you have to show that login into your PHP site or your WordPress site, is it possible in the Firebase?
I haven't done that scenario. I don't think as well. But if you get, but it is workaround. If you get the access token, let's say when you verify the user or when you authenticate the user, you always get the access token, right? From access token, you can re-authenticate your user from your PHP database. But over there, you have to re-authenticate the user. You can't just collect it from here.
Yeah,
Or you can just, if your user is authenticated over here, you can just use that to safeguard your PHP data.
But what I want to transfer session from one site to another site.
I haven't done that. Anyone who can solve this issue, you can do transfer session from one platform to other platform. I think it's not possible. I personally think, or I haven't explored that yet. But if I get time, if I explore that, I'll surely let you know if it's possible or not. Yes. Thank you. Any other questions?
Does it support any other identity provider? Like we have our own identity provider,
Okay.
which is Hyundai Identity Server, and then we have authenticate. We have a user base there, so can we hook the Firebase?
Yes. That it provides, yes. But you have to do the workaround. You cannot just go directly.
So what we are doing right now is we are opening the browser and trying to. We have our own.
Are you using multi-factor authentication right now?
No.
Basic authentication. Okay.
So what we would like to do is to have a seamless flow of authentication, so that it's like the simple login. It doesn't have to be profitable.
It can be done. But then again, if you want it seamless, and you don't want the hassle for user, you have to do it from the access tokens that you get and not from the OTPs and the phone number and passwords. So there is this other method where you actually retrieve the access tokens. So you send your email ID password somewhere, you can store it in a backend if you want to keep, because you have to enter something, right? And then you can create a function at the backend where it creates the user and sends the access token back to your user at the front end, and you can authenticate the user. At backend, what we usually do is we call a cloud function where we authenticate the user from backend. So from front end, we just send the email and password to the backend. There we call all the functions and we just send the access token down. And that access token is saved at the user's ENV part, the credential that they saved on ENV there. Any other questions? Yes?
Regarding the Fire plugin, so you currently can go to the first line where you initiate it or just start it. Before, yeah, Fire, let's see. Okay. So from Flutter Fire, you are using only multi-factor authentication, but this plugin contains lots of Firebase features like analytics, analytics, or it is only for multi-factor authentication?
No. This is for entire Firebase plugins.
So, but you are using only one of the features.
No, in that we are not just using one. With this, we are also using the basic authentication, right? Even that basic authentication is done with this same plugin. For example, sign in with user and password and all. That is done with the Firebase. Sorry, no. This is used to create a project with Firebase. To create a connection with Firebase, this plugin is used.
But it contains all
No,
the
no,
services.
it just contains the connection part.
Okay, not all the services.
No, it doesn't contain all. That is different. That is in Firebase Core and Firebase Auth. The Firebase Auth package that you will use inside your Dart or Flutter will have all the plugins that you have. This is just a CLI to connect your app with Firebase. Yeah,
Not the whole plugin.
Not the whole plugin. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
What would be like a complex feature which could be made in Firebase? Like say referrals, so we can use a referral program via Firebase.
Okay.
Any other like what are limitations feature limitations where Firebase fails?
The feature limitations I personally faced right now is the scalability, because then it's not cost efficient. As long as you're on the free plan, it's good. But once your paid plan starts, each and every data transfer, each and every authentication, each and every file is costly. You have to pay hefty for that. That is the only limitation I found. Other than that, there are not much limitations because Firebase actually handles everything. Now we also have remote config taking place where we can actually change the data directly. Apart from that, there are multiple other ways and multiple other things Firebase is doing. In this multi-factor authentication, Firebase is coming with an anonymous login where you don't even have to enter your email and password. All you will take the device token, authenticate the user to that token itself. So all you will have to do is just show a loading screen and done. But it's the ifs and buts, so we don't know when that will come. But yes, Firebase is working on that. So apart from that, I personally haven't faced any limitations. And if you have huge data, somewhere down the line, data query is an issue with Firebase because it is using the no SQL database. That's the only issue I have faced. Then for that, you have Superbase as alternative, but I won't go there right now. But yeah, we have.
So have you used Crashlytics with Firebase?
Yes, you can use this, yes.
So recently what we did, we gone with the traditional way. We install each and every plugin separately, analytics, Crashlytics, and auto notification. So shall we go with this? Or
Yes, with Flutterfire, you can connect your application directly, but you'll have to install the plugins separately right now also. You have to install Crashlytics separately, you have to install Analytics separately, you'll have to turn them on from the server separately. But yeah, that can be done. Final question, anyone?
So even if we have running these two commands, so we
Yeah.
still have to create the Firebase application, right, in the Firebase console.
Yeah, you have to create.
You have to download that JSON file.
No, yeah. Now, this is where this command helps. First, you have to create the Firebase project over there, and you have to run this command. After this part is done, there is this one command which we don't have over here. that would be, I think we should have, but it's not there. Where you actually call a command called as flutter fire space dash dash configure. And after that, dash and project name. Let's say Shree Bhagwat is the project name. If you run this command, you will get in the terminal for which platform you want Firebase to support. Let's say you want, and you can choose Android, iOS, web, and macOS. These 4 options you can choose, and then Firebase will do everything for it. And you don't have to install the JSON or download or copy JSON file separately. If you do some changes in your Firebase settings and you need to update your JSON file, just run flutterfire dash configure and it will do it.
We have to also provide the SHA 256.
Yeah, you have to do that. Yes, that you have to do. SHA 256 you have to do that because that is the Firebase requirements that you need. Yes. Anything else? Yes.
On Apple developer account, we can create only 2 APN certificates. Okay, but I do have multiple projects, more than 2 projects. So for the third project, what is the other?
I think the APN certificates are usable if I am not wrong.
We use the bundle ID for the to create an APN certificate. But the other projects are using is having different bundle ID.
No. Now there is this certificate which you require to generate multiple certificates, right? For example, we just have one Apple ID.
Wildcard.
Yeah, wildcard. You can use wildcard, but I'm not talking about that. Let's say we just have one developer certificate, and with that we can list multiple applications, right? So just like you can create just one APN certificate for all your applications. I think it's possible. If not, I have to check again. But I think that is possible. We can create a wildcard also that could work for APNs.
We cannot create it.
We cannot?
For wildcard, we cannot create.
Okay, then maybe I'll have to check it that.
Because it verifies the bundle ID before sending the
So we cannot create more than 2 APNs?
No, it's not like that. I'm just saying that we cannot use with a wildcard.
We can't use with wildcard, okay. And how many APA push certificates can we create?
So dependent on how many bundle identifiers you have created. So I don't think there is.
Yeah, because I think I have never faced the limitations to generate the silent push notification certificates. But before that, you'll have to create the identifier, right?
Yes.
From the Apple Connect.
Yes.
And if you do that, I think after that is done, you will get the option to connect the APIs over here as well. Any other thing? Questions? Doubts? ठीक है समझे सबको बेसिक एटलीस्ट you can try that. I iterate over it. If you have any doubts, you can contact me back. I might not have all the answers for this because even this is fairly new for Flutter, but surely I can at least guide you at some proper place where you will get the answers. And again, special thanks to Globant for giving me a chance to guest speaker over here and to arranging such events. Again, if you want, you have my Twitter QR handle there. Okay, so you can just follow me on Twitter, Medium, and YouTube as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So, thank you, Shree, for enlightening us on this topic. Now it's time for a talk on global initiative. The initiative that Globant takes, like providing this venue or event. For this talk, I would like to call Bhagwat sir. He's Senior Technical Director at Globant with over 1.5 decades of experience building interactive web applications using plethora of UI technologies. He's an accomplished UI solutions architect specializing in business intelligence with extensive experience in full life cycle of software design process. So, Bhagwat sir.
How was the session?
Good.
Interactive? Yes. Engaging, everybody happy with whatever you learned today? How many of you are students? Great. Good to see all of you in person, first of all. I think that was the agenda for today. When Shree reached out, we thought that the first question I asked, whether it is in person or again on a 2-inch window, right? And he said, no, it is in person. I said, I am all game with anything which is above 2 feet or 3 feet, right? So everybody who can come in person, we actually deliberately didn't keep anything online because we wanted to again recreate the culture of coming back to the meetup community, right? And this being a start, I think a great. First of all, it feels really great to see all of you in person, as I'm saying. Okay. Harsha? Anyways, my name is Parijat Sardesai. I head the UI engineering studio here. When we say studio, it's not where we take photographs. It's a culture in Globant that we have divided Globant into different verticals on the basis of the technology we work. Usually, everybody of you who is working for some organization, I'm audible, right?
Yes.
So everybody of you who is working for some organization knows that any service-based organization is usually divided into different verticals on the basis of the business they work for, right? But and why Globant has I have been in Globant for this long because Globant is focusing on technology and not business because that is not our expertise, right? How many of you are telecom graduates, right? You are not a telecom graduate or you are not a manufacturing graduate. You are an engineering graduate or a techno graduate. You are trying, right? So technology is supposed to be our focus, right? And that is what Globant is all about, okay? So we are divided into different verticals on the basis of the tech stack you work on. So that's how UI engineering is one studio at Globant, okay? I would not eat much of your time because I know that you have learned a lot today and I don't want to make this a recruitment event where I come and talk about Globant. No, we want to keep it like a meetup by the community for the community, okay? And we keep it this way. I just play one video and I think that should be enough what Globant does and I will skip rest all of the slides. Harsha, can you go to the next
Reinvention moves the world forward, and that's what we do best. We are Globant. The company is probably not known. Behind many of the digital transformations you do know. Globant, seek reinvention.
Okay. What does this video denote? Anybody wants to take a dig at it? Yes.
Take assumptions for the workflow.
Okay. Anybody else? What was that sugar thing happening?
To invent new readings.
Correct.
In the ancient times, the sugar is very important.
Yeah.
or salt is equal to gold.
So that's the barter system which we were trying to show there, right? Where you give something in place of something, right? So from there, where we have moved, right? That is what invention or reinvention is all about. I don't want to, as I said, I don't want to talk about Globant, but what I want to tell all of you who are starting your careers, don't get stuck with one thing, right? Keep reinventing your careers. Keep doing that. Harsha, Harsha ma'am here who gave a talk on Flutter is a web developer, okay? But that didn't stop her from experimenting with Flutter, right? So don't become or judgmental about a particular piece of technology, okay? It is an ever-evolving world. You should, and that's how we also, when I was saying UI Engineering Studio, right? We were two different divisions of that, being mobile and web. But we thought that it doesn't make sense, right? So we reinvented it and we became one, and with bigger and better capabilities, right? So what I want to always, or what I want to just emphasize today for all of you is, keep attending these meetups, keep going to these places where you can learn technology. Technology is changing every day. Keep yourself updated with that particular piece of information which you can get from any meetup. Okay, and that's all what I would want to say for today. I hope you enjoyed being a part of this meetup. And how many of you have been to any meetups in Globant earlier to this? Very nice. Which one?
GDG.
GDG. Okay, which one? GDG. Oh, Google I have extended you. Yeah. Right? Okay, great. Good. Keep coming to any meetups. We are planning maybe something more coming in the coming months. Maybe on the other side of the city as well. We have a equally beautiful office in Magarpatta as well. So any of you who want to, whenever we announce that, whenever you want to join, please join us. And I'll always be happy to host anything of this sort. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. And yeah, thanks, Shree.
The best thing about Parijat sir was that I just dropped him a mail saying, hey, from Flutter Pune, can we host an event at Globant? And he just asked one question, will it be online or in person? And I said in person. And after that, whatever I said, he just gave green signal. I said, we want when? He said yes. I said, anything I asked, he just said yes to it. So special thanks to Parijat sir for such a smooth onboarding for us to host this wonderful event from Flutter Pune. We are very, very happy for it. And for you guys, I know it's Saturday and you have Friday plans, Saturday plans, still you guys are here in the morning. So thank you for you guys for coming here and making this a successful event. And as Parijat sir said, that whenever such events come, please have your time for these events, because in community you actually learn a lot, you grow a lot in the community, and when you network, opportunities come to you and you get new opportunities, you meet new friends where you can actually collaborate on working. And with that said, we have swags for everyone. For a few, not for everyone, because some limitations are always there. But then there are some swags for speakers, and I would like to have that. So yes, the first speaker that we have is Rutvik. Can you come over here? Yes. Anything then dash. Dash की तो ये है कमतरता है. You can give it. Fine. Our second speaker, Harsha, can you come again?
Harsha ma'am.
Yes. And Parijat sir for always helping us. I did that. Your presence enlightening the show. Thank you. And ट्वीट किया है, जिसने ये किया है वो पर्सन DC Kalpesh, yes. So he had most of the tweets and retweets. So he was completely enslaved in the program. So a small token from our thank you. And one more good news is lunch आ गया है सबके लिए. So yes, in 5-10 minutes or let's say after some time, we will start the lunch in the canteen part. Yes. So I'll just make sure volunteers can make sure कि lunch हो गया. And before that, group photo जो देना ही है सबके लिए. So let's do an arrangement for a group photo over here. Yes. हाँ भी चलेगा. Yes. आप भी सब हो? Cheers, Alex. I would have told him to open that one. Thank you. Yes. Thank you everyone. Thank you. Good लग रहा है, बराबर सर? लग